Welcome once again to Retirement Designed Differently with financial advisor Billy Voiles. He's the founder of Fundamental Wealth Designs. I'm Spike Spangle. Billy, I think you said we're going to crawl into my brain today and tell me what's wrong with it. That sounds like a great idea.
Yes, I'm feeling quite introspective today. We're going to dive into the, behavioral finance, the thoughts, the real, and some deep sort of emotional trauma that we might have around money. This one's going to be interesting, but it's going to help you because, again, we could talk about stocks, we could talk about bonds, we could talk about cash and annuities. But at the end of the day, the psychology of money has a huge impact on your ability to build and maintain wealth. So we're going to talk about it.
When we are moving into a new job, we feel excitement. We consider the salary, the next steps. So in a way, we start planning. Even when, for fun, you've bought lottery tickets, I'm sure we all know what we're going to do with the proceeds of them, right? Yeah. Those are the positive things. But when we're living in limit is one of those phrases I've heard, when we're worried about what's going to happen next, when we start to go between fight, flight, and freeze. When the markets start to get shaky, we go into a lot of freeze, a lot of negativity. And here's the thing, through a lot of the behavioral finance studies, negative emotions tend to outpower your decisions almost by 2 to 3 to 1. If there's a negative event, if you're worried, you're more apt to act on that than positive things that happen. Do you see pessimism as one of the things that's happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is a reason to be sort of fearful now, as far as the short-term nature of the markets, because there is a lot of uncertainty that's been presented by the new administration, by tariffs, by some of the jobs reports, by some of the Fed reports that have sort of come out. There's reason to be concerned in the short term about markets and economic activity. And a few years ago, there was a ton of reason to be concerned about the short-term nature and even long-term effects of what the markets were going to do. And that was COVID. So during COVID, that was several years ago, the markets in 1 month basically dropped about 30 percentage points. And a lot of people ran for the hills with their money. They parked in cash. And I don't blame them because the entire world was falling apart in front of us. There was no economy because you couldn't go anywhere. You had to stay in your house. You couldn't even hardly go to the grocery store at that point in time. So the fear was warranted, but the action, not necessarily the immediate action, but the cause of the pessimism that sort of the world's going to fall apart then lingers. Yeah. And the problem is there's never a white or green flag waving that says, hey, everything's fine now, Mr. or Mrs. Investor. You can throw the money back into the market. So what we found is there's people coming in that have been on the sidelines the last 4 or 5 years.
It reminds me a lot of what I heard from folks in 2008 as well. Oh, this time it's different. Oh, thank goodness I got out of the market. I only took a 10% or a 15 or a 20% loss. And sometimes you'd see them years later and say, well, how's that recovery going for you? You say, oh, I've stayed away from those markets. I don't ever want to deal with it. The reaction, we totally understand. But as far as if the goal of your money is to continue to let it grow, we've got to get a hold of these emotions and come up with a plan. Now, on the other hand, I want to say, you're not talking just about set it and forget it. You're not just talking about buy and hold and never do anything. How are you reacting as a financial advisor when the markets are doing that up and down, especially on the negative side?
Yeah, on the negative side, the thing is about us and what we've done is we've prepared plans for our clients. And the money that they have that is at risk is usually around 5+ years out in their plan before they plan to touch it. So anything that's at risk right now, while it's not fun, it's certainly not enjoyable to watch the markets go down. I can sleep at night and our clients can sleep at night knowing that their plan is still built in a way where any income that they're going to need for retirement is either guaranteed or we have it in a safe place using that concept margin of safety we talked about on these shows, using margin of safety in order to weather whatever storm the markets throw our way.
When there is a negative downturn in the markets, though, are there things, so for someone who's really worried and pessimistic about it, are there things that we can take advantage of when the market goes down, even if we're close to retirement? Is there anything glasses half full when the market is down?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because on the flip side of it, you also now have interest rates dropping a little bit. So your fixed income is actually performing a little bit better. There are alternative assets that are also uncorrelated to the market. And if you hadn't been using any of those alternative assets in some income producing assets that can sort of be a hedge against what just the stock market, right, is going to do, then again, you might not have a complete portfolio. And that's where like index investing really falls short. You know, it's great when the markets are going well, right? Passive index, Boglehead style, just throw your money in an S&P index and let it ride. That's great when the markets are going up. But when the markets are falling, you have no diversification. You do have nowhere to run and hide inside those particular strategies.
Can you do a risk analysis to help people? So we've talked before about swimming, so obviously that's in your family, and we do that as much in the summertime. But there's a difference between doing a cannonball in the pool and walking up to the pool, sitting on the side, and putting your feet in. If we're worried about the ups and downs of the market, as a retirement investor, are there ways to be invested in the market where we don't have to be exposed as much to those ups and downs, kind of putting our feet in the pool, but not doing a cannonball completely?
Yeah. I'm going to ask a question of you, Spike.
All right.
You ready?
Yep. Hit me.
All right. Do you want to know what the millionaire had that the billionaire did not?
Millionaire had, the billionaire did not. I don't know. Did he have $1 billion before and lost it? I don't know.
No. The millionaire had enough, Spike. There's this concept of never having enough, and it leads us to mistakes being made. And you've seen it, where people are overly aggressive and not trying to find solutions that will take risk off the table. You find this in people like some of the crypto companies and stuff like that you've seen go completely under. You know, when those people were worth billions of dollars and all of a sudden then they're bankrupt. Sometimes you see this with NBA players, NFL players, hockey players, sports, where they had 20, 30, $40 million in earnings, but they wanted that next fancy car. They wanted that next fancy house, and they never had enough, right? But here's a quote that I found super interesting out of the book we're talking about, Psychology of Money. There is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. And think about that if you're approaching retirement and say you're 1 to 3 years away from retirement. If you double your money in that time frame, is it going to change your life? It's likely not. You don't need to double your money. So why are you taking that level of risk that is completely unnecessary to obtain things you don't want or don't need? The weird thing is, we build plans sometimes and they have like $3 million left to their kids. And they're like, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to leave $3 million to my kids? And what they're really saying is, I'd rather spend it along the way. But if it's at risk, you're not going to do that. So again, if you're out there and this makes sense to you, there is no reason to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. And during these times of volatilities, if you want to explore how to protect your retirement, how to take those risks off the table that's going to get you something you don't even want in the future, then now's the time to act. And give us a call. Our team is standing by. Again, we got offices throughout the cities. We sit down, we get to know you on that first appointment. We're going to walk through your taxes. We're going to walk through your income. We're going to walk through your investments and build that retirement design differently for you. The phone number, 888-379-1846. We look forward to seeing you.
Call right now. Get your own no-cost retirement design started with financial advisor and his team, Billy Voiles, the founder of Fundamental Wealth Designs. We'll be right back with Billy right after this.
Is your largest retirement savings account one that you haven't paid taxes on? Like millions of Americans, you've saved into a retirement account that deferred paying taxes until you take the money out years later. One method to save on future taxes is called the Roth conversion, and you could do that right now to save yourself from paying higher taxes in the future. We are currently living during the lowest tax rates of our lifetimes. Would it make sense to pay those taxes now instead of in the future when those tax rates could be higher? Call Fundamental Wealth Designs today to see if doing a Roth conversion from your 401k or IRA account makes sense. This analysis is complimentary for our viewers who are serious about retirement planning. So ask yourself, would you rather pay lower taxes now or higher taxes in the future? Call the phone number you see here to get started right now. Do you think you will spend more money on food or healthcare in retirement? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? If so, how much? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? How do you produce income from your nest egg to fight costs like taxes and inflation? At Fundamental Wealth Designs, we take the guesswork out of retirement planning by designing a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, am I going to be okay in retirement? Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling us today at Fundamental Wealth Designs for your retirement designed differently.
Welcome back to Retirement Designed Differently with financial advisor Billy Voiles. Today we're talking about how our own thoughts about money actually affect our decisions when it comes to our portfolio management, the way that we design our own retirement. Sometimes just small adjustments can really make big differences, both in positive and negative way. So kind of those decision makers, how about getting wealthy or getting to retirement with savings is not the same thing as keeping it? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two different things, and they sort of require two different strategies. So when you think about it, the people that get out there and they make a lot of money, we're talking $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. You were aggressive at your career development. You were aggressive at your, taking advantage of opportunities. You probably took risks in your life in order to get to be a high earner, right? But those same risks that you take, a lot of times those people also, their spending habits have increased with their with their earnings. So if your spending has also increased with your earnings, and you have also then not saved prudently along the way, you run into this issue. And we see this a lot. And it's really this sweet spot, these folks that make $300,000 to $400,000, the psychology is like, there's always going to be more coming. There's always going to be more coming. And that's true if you want to work forever. But at some point, if you want to take a step back and not work the rest of your life, you're not going to get $300,000 from Social Security. So how are you going to generate income to keep up your standard of living if you haven't properly saved? So getting wealthy or getting, income rich while you're working, salary rich, is not the same as wealth.
I think this applies, though, not just to folks who make $300,000, $400,000 a year, but those who make $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. It's if they get to a nest egg that can hopefully provide for them throughout retirement, it's the philosophy of maybe it's never enough. I don't know when I can retire. I need to keep that income coming in. So whether you're providing for a family of 4, a family of 6 or 8, whether you're 62 or 65, it is hard emotionally to turn off that income spigot and say, okay, I think this is enough. How much does cash flow analysis help with no matter where you're at in the income brackets?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that gives people the confidence to sort of walk away. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter like what income level you're at. The transition to retirement is of concern to people because they want to know where their paychecks are going to come from. So we're very descriptive as showing people how we're going to get their target income in retirement. You might have $2,000 coming from Social Security, and then another $1,500 from your spouse's Social Security. And then we'll have $1,000 in distributions from your IRA. And then we'll have a $300 or $500 pension. And then we'll have another $1,000 in, say, part-time work. A lot of people, they continue to work part-time. But again, knowing and understanding what this income is going to look like in retirement, a lot of times that's what people want from us. They want to see a very specific income plan so they know, what are my paychecks going to be in retirement? And then, like, how much can I count on those paychecks in retirement?
What about the concept? And again, we're talking about financial concepts and our own psychology. What about feeling to ourselves, hey, I've been a go-getter, I've been an alpha, I've been doing this all throughout my entire lifetime, but don't worry, I'll get to retirement and I'll change. I'll be able to slow down and smell the roses and enjoy my family. Is it that easy as saying I'll change?
Yeah, and that's the tough part, right? Because the psychology of shifting to retirement, one of the things you really need to find for yourself is sort of this purpose, right? Like, what is retirement going to be for you? And I ask this, and I get a lot of blank stares in our workshops. I ask, what is it all for? What are we trying to accomplish with this wealth that you're building, or these assets that you've sort of saved, these investments that you're saved? What do we want them to do for you? And people don't have good answers for that sometimes. Sometimes they know exactly what they want to do, and they lay it all out, and it's right there in front of them. But the thing is, you will change. And part about you'll change also has to do with risk tolerance. And we run into it all the time where people's risk tolerances as they approach retirement, and they'll say it, well, I used to take a lot of risk, Spike, or I used to like to take a lot of risk, Spike, but now I'm not quite sure I want to do that anymore, because they hit that point where they see the retirement horizon and they want to de-risk and take the money off the table, but they don't know how, and they don't know what are the other solutions besides the S&P 500 that I can go to.
Lastly, real quick, we're going to go out to a commercial break, but maybe you can answer this just for a couple of minutes, because I'm sure that when couples come in, they both think exactly the same way about money and what we're going to do, right? No, I know. I've talked to you a couple of times. You said sometimes we have totally different ideas on risk, totally different ideas on either spending or saving money, totally different ideas on how we're going to do retirement. Is it important to make sure that couples somehow come together onto at least a similar page, if not the same page, for a retirement design?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is sometimes I write on my board, sometimes I'm a coach, I'm a guide, I'm a marriage counselor. It happens because there's usually a dominant person that is more in charge of finances than the other. It's unusual that there's sort of this complete mutual interest and understanding of the financial situation. And it goes both ways. Sometimes it's a husband, sometimes it's the wife. That's not what it's about. But usually there's one person that's a little bit more dominant and one person that just wants to sort of be reassured that they're going to be okay. But that person that is not the dominant one wants an advisor. The person that feels like they're in charge, right? They feel like they have it handled and they don't want an advisor, whether they don't want to pay for it or they feel like they have it handled on their own. And right now, I can tell you with the markets going on the way that they are, that person who's not comfortable, that person who is just not in charge of the situation, they're getting more and more nervous every single day as these markets go up and down because they don't have clarity. They don't have any assurance that their retirement's going to last the rest of their life. So getting these two together to realize the benefits, because one day the dominant person will be gone. And then what's going to happen?
I read a recent Harris poll that said that 70% of Americans have fear or anxiety about talking to a financial advisor. And maybe it's just the uncertainty of their situation. So do yourself a favor, call the phone number down on the bottom of the screen and let's just have that conversation. You can sit down with Billy Voiles and his team. Are you worried about the market volatility? Are you worried about running out of money in retirement? Are you worried about protecting your loved ones after you're gone? Your spouse, your kids? Are you worried about healthcare selections? Are any of these things emotionally keeping you up at night? and call the phone number. It is no cost to get started on your retirement design. It is no cost to work with the team here of Fundamental Wealth Designs. More with Billy Voiles right after this message.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retirement Design Differently with financial advisor Billy Voiles. We're talking about decision-making and your personal finances, and sometimes our own biases get in the way. So here we go, end of the segment here. You might need a financial advisor if, what is it today?
You might need a financial advisor if you want to know and understand the personality types of money and which one you are.
Okay, there's 5 different types, so let me read them for everybody. We've got the dreamer, the avoider, the initiator, the collaborator, and the analyzer, which can be more problematic for retirement planning.
Well, I think the avoider is the one that we really want to talk about. And the avoider, you mentioned it before, 70% of people feel anxious about coming in and sitting down with a financial advisor. And so this avoider, you just avoid the situation. You don't look at your statements. You don't look at the situation. You don't have a plan forward. You probably save and invest, relatively well because you just put money away and you have anxiety around it. So you're worried, but you don't know where to go next because, again, something about meeting with a financial advisor is stressful or disconcerting. And that's where we're here to help. We're here to help and just sit down with you. Our first meeting, the foundation meeting that we hold, is a very simple get to know you meeting. It's a conversation where we're going to share a cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is that you like to drink. And we're just going to sit there and get to know you, get to know more about your situation, hear your story, ask you questions that give us clarity around what your goals and your dreams are. So that avoider is really someone that we want to encourage to just take that tiny first baby step in the right direction, because I can tell you that once we settle and we create your plan and we initiate it and it gets those are perhaps my my favorite clients, that when everything is like put together at the end, they just have this whole sense of relief about them, that everything is now in the right place. They know and understand more about their retirement, about their investments, their income. So the avoider is really a big one. Another one is the collaborator, right? The collaborator is a great one that we like to work with because they're already seeking help. They love to work and partner up with other people. So that's a great sort of team that we can team up with as well.
And I'll tell you what, so I can identify with the audience, I would say with the analyzer, I can see a little bit of that in myself. I often do that where I will analyze to the point of not making decision, where I'm researching because that's a world that I'm familiar with. And then once I research, I think I've got a lane, and then, then I find something that says the opposite, and then I need to wait to get more information, and I haven't made any decision at all because I need to keep analyzing. You experience that with retirement planning, folks?
Absolutely. The whole paralysis by analysis concept.
Yes, that's me.
Where, and these are the folks that when we meet with them, and we ask, are you going to talk with anybody about making your decision? And they're like, yeah, I got to ask my cousin. Well, what's your cousin do? Well, he's a plumber. I'm like, well, no offense to plumbers, but that's not a financial advisor. Or you meet with someone and they need to, check with all of their coworkers in order to make a decision. And if you ask 10 different people about their opinions on retirement, you're going to get 10 different answers. One person's going to be a trader type where they read technical analysis. Another person's going to have a big pension and they don't even need to plan for themselves for income. Another person, they just inherited $5 million and they don't even have a care in the world about what's going on. So their situations are not yours. So this analysis can really prohibit action. And action, making decisions, is what's going to put people in good place for retirement.
And we also do understand that between couples, talking about these things can also be emotional as well. And sitting down with a financial advisor who does holistic planning, this is a place, if you could say, air your dirty laundry. Let's talk about it. And are you the negotiator as well?
Yeah, because sometimes we need to bring people back to reality, right? And those are the dreamers. Those are the people that think money will take care of itself. And those folks really sometimes need to be grounded as far as expectations, right? The markets went up really well the past couple of years, and now they're obviously volatile. But that dreamer thinks, oh, we have nothing to worry about. Well, maybe, if you have a plan in place that's properly structured, then maybe you don't have anything to worry about. But let's try to set some reality in place that if you don't take action on your retirement today, you could be significantly at risk.
Another version of the dreamer I think we often hear is the dreamer on, oh, don't worry, Medicare will take care of my healthcare costs in retirement. And another one that I don't find quite as funny lately is when you hear the parents say, oh, don't worry, I'm not worried about long-term care. My kids will take care of me later.
Yeah.
These are things where we've got to sit down, get our thought process out of the way, and actually deal with the numbers and facts with somebody who does it all the time. Billy, we're going to have to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
The retirement design, what steps will you cover in the process?
Absolutely. So if you're a dreamer, right, and you need to be maybe grounded a little bit. If you're an avoider and you've just been avoiding because you're fearful to take that first step, or if you're a collaborator and you're looking to partner up with someone, we'd love to sit down and talk with you and walk through your tax, walk through your income in retirement, and walk through your investments to make sure you have a retirement that you can never outlive.
Billy Voiles, thank you so very much. As Billy was saying, you can call the phone number right now down on the bottom of the screen and get started on your own retirement design. Or interactively, even though this is all the time we have in today's show, open up your phone to the camera function, point it down here on this QR code, click on it. You can schedule your appointment at his website right there. Thank you so much for watching. Get started on your free retirement design. We'll be back next week.